Mic 2, mic 2. Hey, 1 2, hey, 1 2 3, 1 2 3, check, check. Hey, 1 1, check, check, testing, testing. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Happy to have you. Hey, mic 2, mic 2. 1, 2, check, check.
Don Hamill, I'm sorry. Welcome. I want to recognize some of our distinguished guests here tonight, or today. First of all, Don's family, his sister Gay and her husband Mark, and the three boys, Matt, Jeff, and Greg. And especially here is our Honorable Greg Stanton, our favorite congressman. And Darlene Martinez, who is our constable, so keep on your good toes here or she'll arrest you. So. Anyway, I thought we'd start off with some personal observations of my relationship with Don, but also some of the events in the latter part of Don's life. I met Don, I don't know, 2010, 11. He had started and was running the Rainbow Festival, and I said, Don, this should be part of Phoenix Pride, and I was treasurer of the Pride Board, and he said, let's do the deal. So we did the deal, and the Rainbow Festival became part of Pride. Don and I had similar previous business, pretty much the same type of thing on business. We traveled Europe and Asia, and I became really enthused about Don because he could just spend 6 months of the year out of the country. He would be in Europe. He started to spend a lot of time in Mexico City. And one time he said, why don't you visit me in Mexico City? So I did. I said, oh, what should I bring? What type of clothing? He said, I travel the world in 3 pairs of shorts and 5 T-shirts. So he trained me not to have bulky luggage. Anyway, I met him in Mexico City. He toured me. We did the touristy stuff, but we also got into the neighborhoods and into the real culture of the Mexican people. And a couple years later, at a dinner, Kirk Baxter and John Phoebus and myself started to meet kind of regularly when Don was in town. And I said I was going to Europe. He said, oh, I'll be in Barcelona at that time. Why don't you meet me there? So I did. I was in Paris and took a bullet train to Barcelona. And again, Don had been there. He knew all the places to go to, and not just the fancy places, but where the Spanish people, the Basque people really lived and ate, and had a fabulous time. We went to Sitges, which is the gay Mecca down there, and had a fabulous time. And a couple of years later, at a dinner at my house, Don said, I'm going to be in Tokyo. This was probably 2023. I'm going to be in Tokyo. Why don't you guys come down and visit me? And so John and I said, well, yeah, let's do that. Let's go to Tokyo. I had been there on business, but a business trip is nothing like a vacation. So we hopped the plane, got to Tokyo. Don met us, and Tokyo is a fabulous city. You can get everywhere by subway, by train, but you have to know which train and how to get to that train and how to get to that subway. And Don had been there. He had all this mapped out, and it went extremely well. John and I had a great time. And I don't know where Don went, and that was 2023, 24. I think he might have been in Australia. But anyway, 2025, he was in the Slavic countries, and he was sending pictures and texts, having a great time. And he got back, and we had dinner, I think at my house again. And he said he was going to Asia this year, and he took off and spent time in Vietnam and got to Thailand and ended up in Bangkok, which is a very vibrant city. Said he was enjoying it, but he had some chest pain, I'll put it. And so he went to the local hospital. They admitted him, said he had fluid on the heart. He was in the ICU unit for 8 days. Cured him of that, released him, but said, you have a respiratory problem also. And so Don was so proud it only cost him $5,000 for 8 days in ICU in Bangkok. In this country, it would have cost $50,000. And so he came back, and we had dinner with him, thought it was going great. Called me a couple weeks later, said, let's go to a Diamondback game, which we did. Had a great time. And about 5 days later, Kirk and I get a text saying that he was in the heart hospital. And yeah, we visited him the next 3 days or so. John was on a cruise, and we thought he was doing very well, but he took a downturn, and the hospital called his sister Gay. And she came in, Kirk and I picked her up at the airport, and Gay spent the next 6 days going back and forth to the hospital, and Don just was on a downturn. And on Friday, June 26th, with Gay holding his hand, with a chaplain and nurses, and me in the room, Don passed. You know, we lost a great dedicated brother, my great traveling buddy, a great respected citizen of the city of Phoenix, and also a great leader in the GLBT plus community. So on that note, let's go to a welcome from our current mayor, Kate Gallego.
Phoenix Mayor Kate Gallego. I'm Phoenix Mayor Kate Gallego. On behalf of the City Council and the residents of Phoenix, I want to share with family, friends, and those gathered today our gratitude for Don Hamill and how his efforts delivered an impact for generations. Don's stories reminds us that each of us can leave our mark. His passion was born witnessing the emergence of the LGBTQ civil rights movement. He saw what was possible when communities come together with pride, purpose, and visibility. Here in Phoenix, he founded the Rainbows Festival, which has grown into an important annual tradition, welcoming tens of thousands of residents to celebrate diversity, inclusion, and community. He strengthened Phoenix Pride, helped bring the AIDS Walk to our city, inspired the creation of Red Brunch, supported organizations serving people living with HIV, and championed LGBTQ youth. He helped our city become more welcoming, more compassionate, and more united. Don leaves behind a stronger Phoenix, a more visible and vibrant LGBTQ community, and an enduring reminder that one person's vision, generosity, and courage can change an entire city for the better. May his memory continue to inspire us all.
Thank you, Mayor Gallego. One other thing, I wanted to make special mention of the work that Kirk Baxter and Michael Mazzacco did to put this event together in a fairly short time span. But I want to welcome to the podium now one of Don's nephews, Matt, to have a few words from the family.
First of all, thank you all for being here today. Before I get started, I especially want to send a heartfelt thank you to Kirk, Bill, and John for all the support you guys have been providing our family these past few weeks. The efforts have not gone unnoticed, and I'll personally be forever grateful. My name is Matt Tepper. I'm the oldest son. I'm the oldest son of Mark and Gay, and I'm the godson of Donald Ray Hamill, our Uncle Don. My brothers and I are honored to be here and have a chance to share a few words about a man who's been a part of some of the most important memories of my life. I read once that life is just a series of moments that become memories, and those memories are what define us. I've been thinking about that a lot these past couple of weeks because when I look back at my own life, Uncle Don is woven through so many of them. A while back, some friends and I, probably over some drinks, got into the conversations about what are some of our earliest memories, and mine happened to include Uncle Don. I was about 4 years old, and it was at Disneyland, and we were riding the rocket ships ride, and I was riding with Uncle Don. A very vibrant memory looking back. I can see my brother and my dad behind us. I can see the Matterhorn, the whole bit. That same trip was also the first time riding in a convertible, my first time in a limousine. At 4 years old, I was obviously impressed that Uncle Don's preferred modes of travel allowed him to see the stars and watch cartoons all from the back seat. I doubt he knew it then, but those were just some of the first memories of him. That's where my memories of him really begin. There were obviously smaller moments too. It's funny, the program talks about his very stern and direct line of conversation and communication. One Christmas Eve, Uncle Don drew the short straw and bunked with me. I must have been about 7 or 8 years old. In the middle of the night, I got up to sneak downstairs, and he caught me in the act. I told him I wanted to go get a glass of water. He quickly saw right through that. He said he would go get it for me. But I think what he didn't expect is I challenged him on it. I was like, why can't I do this myself? And it's obvious I caught him a little flat-footed. And he answered, because your parents are, he started with nowhere to go. I filled in the blank with making cookies. He didn't miss a beat. He's like, yes, making cookies, back to bed. Back to bed I went. It wasn't until years later I understood he was keeping the magic going for a little longer. And my apologies if I'm breaking news to anyone here today. As we got older, Uncle Don pushed my brothers and me to really get out, see the world, and he backed that up in the form of travel tips, a little extra spending money, and whatever it took to get us out the door. One of the trips he helped fund was actually one of the first ones that my wife and I ever took together back when we were dating. That trip to Denver and a show at Red Rocks really kind of remains a foundational memory of our relationship. There were so many more along the way: graduations, spring break trips out here in Arizona, holiday gatherings. The last time I saw Uncle Don was actually this January when he visited us in Dallas. He spent as much time playing. He spent as much time playing with my daughters, Sadie and Lila, who are 5 and 3, as he did with catching up with me. It's also not lost on me that Sadie is around the same age I was when I was on those rocket ships. She'll grow up with her own memory of Uncle Don. And I now know it's on me to carry forward what he gave me, a push to see the world and a push to be good in it. When I got married, I asked Uncle Don to speak at our wedding. He talked about who I'd become. He challenged me to become a better husband, a better son, a better brother, a bright light in the world. Since he passed, I've been hearing about the impact he had here in Phoenix, and it's clear I was only privy to just a fraction of it. And so I want to pass the challenge on to everyone here today. The best way we can honor him is by being that light ourselves as sons, daughters, brothers, sisters, and members of our communities. I know everyone in this room has their own memory of my Uncle Don, and I can't wait to hear them. Because I know my brothers are already proud to call him our uncle, and I'm very proud to call him my godfather. Thank you.
Please welcome to the stage John Phoebus, friend and travel buddy to Don Hamill.
All right, next to the podium, John Phoebus, a great friend of Don's. They became very close in the last 10 years, and Don will share his memories with all of us.
Thank you, Matt and Gay and the family for being here. You know, your uncle was a great man, and there were so many different aspects of him. I hope today you can see just a small part of the love and the influence that he had here in his life. And he had a life of significance. I met Don 14 years ago. It was actually at Flagstaff Pride. My friend Angie Guerra had introduced us. And from the moment I met him, he had that impish excitement and vitality, and he cared. And so many people, you know, they just don't stay engaged. Don was always engaged. He had a keen and active mind. He loved politics, and he loved his sports, right, Greg? So you knew you could take the boy out of Texas, but you could never take Texas out of the boy. And, he loved his Texas football, and you knew not to call Don on a Saturday afternoon in football season because you would get in trouble. But, the great gift I wanted to talk about that he gave me was I had never traveled outside of the U.S. until I met Don, other than to Mexico, to Rocky Point. And Don started me on a road of adventure and opened me to this world beyond the United States. We went to Mexico City, New York City, which can be a foreign country to some seems like, Barcelona and London, and we were there in Barcelona and London for Pride Week, and I actually got to meet the mayor there of London, Sadiq Khan, and and then our final adventure together was in Japan. Don loved people. He had a great joy in other cultures and other accomplishments, and was always trying to get you out of your comfort zone to understand that everything is not just about America, and that there's wonderful things and wonderful people all over the world. He loved people, and that joy never ceased coming through. I remember when we were at Barcelona Pride, I've got about an hour attention span, but Don, we were like on 3 hours on that parade, and he's like, we are not leaving. We are staying until that parade was over. That'd be the same when you're having dinner with Don. He loved, like I said, he loved politics. He loved the new technologies, AI. I'll be eternally grateful. I am eternally grateful for what your uncle gave to me and so many other people. He changed the world with his advocacy for the LGBT community, and he changed my life by giving me some sensitivity, a much broader sensitivity. I want to finish by saying, one other thing. He was a great connector. My dear friends Vern and Dwayne, who you're going to hear from, who've made such a huge impact in the community through Axiom Care, I met them through Don. He connected people. Your uncle knew everybody, and he was always bringing people together that he thought, right, Darlene, that he thought could be helpful to each other. But, he was always texting me, and the last text he ever sent me, it was on AI, but the sentiment was so perfect. The very last text that I got from him, he said, anything is possible. And I know he is upstairs now, probably planning Jesus' travel itinerary. But, we wish you well, my dear brother, and I will always miss you, and thank you for sharing your uncle with us. So, God bless you, Don. And now I'd like to call up Nancy Nunez to the stage. And let's see, let me just tell you a little bit about Nancy. Nancy is one of the most loved and respected members of the Phoenix LGBTQ community. Kirk and Don and Bill, we all first got to know Nancy as a producer for Don of all of his top-notch entertainment. As you've heard, your uncle had founded the Rainbows Festival and been deeply involved in producing that every year, and it's still a beloved festival every year. Nancy was his producer. Nancy worked with Don for over a decade. I'm hoping she's going to give us some of the stories, a little bit. Nancy's the owner of Wet Dog Promotions and helped grow for the community AIDS Walk, Phoenix Pride, and many more. And she also significantly contributed to today's tribute to Don. So please welcome Miss Nancy Nunez.
First and foremost, I'd like to extend my condolences and let you all know, the family, that your family member Don was extremely loved and cherished in this community. In a lifetime, there's very few people that we meet that stand out. People who challenge you, inspire you, and bring out the best in you. Don Hamill was one of those people for me. I first met Don in the early days of Rainbows Festival when it was on a shoestring budget. So much of a shoestring budget that he had this round stage that was uneven, and I brought some singers to perform, and I had a few comments about that. So John kindly invited me to come back the following year. As Don's vision grew, Rainbows Festival grew into a 2-day festival. It was free, it was community-driven. He helped create a wonderful working relationship between myself and Barbara Seville, the incredible Barbara Seville, may I say. Barbara coordinated and hosted Sundays while I coordinated Saturdays and provided stage management support for the Sunday show. Together we created memories and a working relationship that I was always and will always treasure. Don had a gift for recognizing people's strength and bringing the right people together to make things happen. In that chance meeting, it also led to entertainment for Aunt Rita's Foundation, for their AIDS Walk and their Red Brunch, and also for Phoenix Pride. Don brought me along with him through all of it. Through him, I learned more about my community, the strength, its commitment, and how people can do things well together with the right purpose. Don was a man of few words with me, but he was always precise in what he wanted and what he wanted done with his vision. Even whenever I questioned it, somehow it could be done, he would look at me and say, "You can make it happen." One quick example of that, by the way. During the second year of the Red Brunch of Aunt Rita's Foundation, Don wanted 3 choirs on stage, which included over 100 people on a very small stage. I told him, "Are you serious? That's a logistical nightmare." Don simply looked at me and smiled and said, "You can do this." As he walked off, and I'm like, okay. Well done, we sure did it. We did it, we succeeded. And your vision continues to live on through the people that you believed in and the community that Don brought together. So thank you for that, Mr. Hamill. Thank you. Thank you for believing in me and everything you left in your wake. Now it's up to us to live through it. To help us celebrate Don in a way that only he could bring joy, the organizers of today have asked a very special person to honor him in song in a way that became the traditional Rainbows Festival Sunday experience. And we'd like to share this with you today. It is my privilege to introduce my dear friend, performer, and the one who Don helped me build such a wonderful Rainbows Festival memories with, the incredible Barbara Seville.
That Woo! Is this on? Hi, everybody. I'm Barbara Seville. Say hi, Barbara. Would you hand me my phone? Do you mind? It was very important to me. They reached out yesterday and said, Barbara, we need a song. And I was like, ugh. Because I was like, I know how some of y'all are. You're going to be like, Barbara showed up and did a song at this man's memorial. I was invited. I was happy to do it. And I was trying to find a song that would be appropriate for my friend Don, because Don, like to a lot of people, meant a lot to me, and he meant a lot of different things to me. And I know this looks really tacky while I unlock my phone, but I got to do this. Back in the day, you used to write this stuff down, and you would have note cards. It looked so much more dignified. Hold on. I'm not opening my phone. I was just taking a selfie. So I don't want to waste this. I look good. Like Nancy, I want to express my condolences to Don's family. I know, actually I don't know, but I hope that you know how much he meant to so many of us. And I would imagine that there were probably times in your life where it was hard to share him with the world, literally the world. Don was a citizen of the world. And I think that's such a wonderful, wonderful way to be, and a wonderful way to approach life, is with curiosity and with gratitude. I have to find my notes because I had to get my stuff together because I want to do this right for him, because that was one thing about Don, is that he got everything right. I don't know how he always did it, but he consistently got everything right. And I met Don when I was not young, but younger. And I have often talked about in life looking for like a male role model, if I could just say that. And Don was such a definition of a man. Like he was, and I don't mean masculine, I mean by treating people nicely, by saying what he was going to do and doing what he was going to say, by his actions meeting his words. And I always found that so charming, and I found it so aspirational. But on top of that, he was also such a gentleman. And I always found that fascinating. He always conducted himself in such a gentlemanly fashion. Please, thank you. Helping somebody get up, being quiet when it was appropriate. I learned so much just by watching him. And also, I didn't know there would be overhead lighting. I thought it would be darker in here. If I'm to be perfectly candid. I don't think Don would have approved of the lighting. And I'm not pointing fingers or assigning blame, but let's use this as a barbertunity to learn. But Don was a good man, and he was a gentleman, and it meant a lot to me, the time that I got to spend with him. Don was also somebody who made things happen. And I remember, I'm not sure the exact date, but I want to say it was like 2001, 2002, when he pitched this idea of the Rainbows Festival to me. And I was like, yeah, you do that, Don. You do that little festival. Keep me out of it. Because it on paper, it just didn't look like it would work at all. And he said, oh no, but I want you to be a part of it, Barbara. And I was like, oh. And he told me what he wanted to do. And you know what? He did it. He did it. He took his plan and he turned it into reality. And it only got better. And Nancy, I remember that stage. And like you, I said, hey, this was a good time, but we need to do better than that stage. And he did. He made it better and better and better, till the next thing I knew, I showed up and there was a giant stage with theatrical staging and lighting and a video screen. And it was what he said it would be. And it was so incredible to be a part of it. And when I was getting ready for today, I was looking through my old messages with him, and all of the messages for him are just so supportive. And they're like, what do you need? And how can I help you? And oh, this is going to be better. And like, that's just how he was. And he managed to do that while also supporting his family and loving his family and making time for nieces and nephews and things like that. A really unique thing about Don, and this is just true, Sometimes people in nonprofits, sometimes people in organizations, sometimes people in community work, they make themselves the star of the work that they're doing, and they get really tied to the work that they do. And Don was perfectly happy remaining nameless, remaining behind the scenes. He was perfectly happy to be the first person there, setting up stages and taking down stages. He did not want to be on stage. He did not need to be acknowledged. And that was such another gentlemanly thing that I admired about him. I didn't learn that from him, but I admired it. I thought, oh, I should be more like that, and didn't. One thing that was important to him was to make the Rainbows Festival free, to make it fun, and to make it fair. He made sure that so many people were included. He made sure that people who had maybe felt they weren't welcome here, or their voices weren't welcome in different, and I know I'm running out of time, I'm sorry. It was important to him that those people feel welcome, that they feel seen, and he did a good job of it, and he showed up over and over and over to make sure that that happened. And I appreciated that about him. One thing that I envied about Don, in addition to being such a gentleman, is that he had such a curiosity built into him. It was like a factory setting. And he loved to travel. He was a citizen of the world, and I would always be like, how is he doing this? How is he going these places? And you know how he did it? He just said, I'm going to do it, and he did, and so can you. So make that something that you take away, that if there was part of his life that you admired, and if that was part of it, get on a plane, go somewhere. The only thing keeping you home is you. And the more you travel, the more people that you meet, the more that you learn. So today, like someone else did, I would like to issue a challenge. And that is to, number one, to reach out and be a friend. Reach out and be a friend. Right now, more than ever, I know it seems that we're more connected than ever, but that connection has also presented different obstacles. And sometimes we feel like we don't have to check in because you read their Facebook status, or you heard that they're okay, or you saw their picture on Instagram. Reach out and say, hey girl, how you doing? Hey, what's up? How's your family? And mean it and listen. Let somebody answer those questions. But the other thing that I would encourage everyone to do is to make something happen. Make something happen in your community. Make something happen in your life. Make something happen in your family. You know, we're not all going to create the Rainbows Festival, but you know what? Maybe you can create a better Thanksgiving with your family. Maybe you can create a better Friendsgiving. Maybe you can create something that's small and creates community, whatever that looks like and what it means to you, because I feel like that was Don's biggest gift to all of us. And Don, I appreciate you. I love you. I know you're looking up or down. I don't know. And I know you're upset about the overhead lighting. I do know that. But I know that you wouldn't hold a grudge about it. And I love you. I appreciate you. And I will miss you. Thank you.
Please welcome to the stage Executive Director of Phoenix Pride, Mike Fernelli, Executive Director for Aunt Rita, Stacey J. Cavalier, and Executive Director for 1 in 10, Nate Roten.
Hi, everyone. I'm so blessed to be here with all of you today, especially Don's family. Thank you for traveling and gathering in celebration with us today. My name is Stacey J. Cavalier, and I have the privilege of serving as the Executive Director of Aunt Rita's Foundation. Like so many of us here today, I knew Don in many ways. He was a community leader, an advocate, and a visionary, but he was also a mentor and friend. Over the last several weeks, I found myself reflecting on what made Don such an extraordinary leader, as many have said here today, so some of this might be repetitive. It wasn't simply that he showed up, it was that when he showed up, he was fully present. In a world that constantly competes for our attention, Don had an incredible gift. He made you feel loved, and in the moment you were with him, you were the only person who mattered. He listened, he remembered, and he encouraged. He asked thoughtful questions, not because he had to, but because he really wanted to know the answer. That kind of presence is rare. For Aunt Rita's Foundation, Don's legacy is woven into our history. He helped bring AIDS Walk back to Phoenix when our community needed hope and visibility most desperately at that time. He later served on many of our planning committees, helping envision the Red Brunch, which is now the Red is the Night Gala, and never stopped investing in our mission or the people behind it. But when I think about Don, I don't just think about the events he created or the titles that he held. I think about the people that he helped. I also think about how he made the people feel. Throughout our friendship, Don was someone I could always count on for a phone call or for guidance, and I never felt like it was an interruption. Because when Don was with you, he was with you. By the end of every conversation, you felt more confident, not because he solved your problems, but because he knew that you could solve them. That's leadership, not having all the answers, but helping others discover their own. Not being the center of attention, but making others feel seen. Don's legacy isn't simply found in the organizations he helped build, the festivals he created, or the causes that he championed. It's found in the countless individuals who walked away from conversations with him believing that they mattered. I think that's one of the greatest impacts and legacies that anyone could ever leave. On behalf of everyone at Aunt Rita's Foundation, thank you, Don. Thank you for your leadership and for your friendship. Thank you for reminding us that the greatest impact we can have is often not in what we can accomplish, but in how deeply we choose to be present for one another. May we honor your life, Don, by giving others the same gift that you gave so freely. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. Good afternoon, everyone. My condolences to the family. My name is Mike Fernelli. I'm the executive director for Phoenix Pride. I have that pleasure. There are people who participate in a community, and then there are people who help shape the future of that community. Don Hamill was one of those individuals whose vision, whose dedication, and whose generosity left an enduring mark on Phoenix and the LGBTQ+ community. As a former board member for Phoenix Pride, Don believed that Pride was more than a celebration. It was a catalyst for building community, for creating visibility, and for fostering a sense of belonging. His leadership helped strengthen the organization during a very pivotal period of growth, and it was always guided by a commitment to bring people together. Perhaps one of Don's most lasting legacies, because we've heard it several times today, is the creation and production of the Rainbows Festival. What began as a vision for an accessible, vibrant community celebration has now become one of Arizona's signature LGBTQ+ events. And year after year, the festival has welcomed thousands of people from all walks of life, creating a place where diversity is celebrated, where local businesses and nonprofits can thrive, where artists are showcased, and where lifelong connections are made. Don understood that creating spaces where people feel seen and valued and accepted has a very, very important impact, far beyond like one single day or one single event. His work helped cultivate a stronger, more visible, and more inclusive community, and one that continues to grow because of the foundation that he helped build. His legacy is measured not only by the organizations that he served or the events that he created, but by the countless lives that he touched. Every smile shared at Rainbows Festival, or every friendship formed, or every young person who found hope through 1 in 10, or every individual supported by Aunt Rita's, and every person who discovered a sense of belonging reflects the community that Don worked so tirelessly to create. Today we celebrate and honor Don Hamill with deep gratitude for his leadership, with appreciation for his service, and with admiration for the vision that continues to inspire us. His contributions were woven into the history of organizations like Phoenix Pride, like 1 in 10, like Aunt Rita's, and the broader LGBTQ+ community and allied community. but more importantly, they remain the lasting part of our future. So may we carry forward Don's example by continuing to build a community where people are welcomed, where they're celebrated, and where they're empowered to belong. I feel that in doing so, we ensure that Don's legacy will continue to inspire and uplift generations to come. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nate Roten, the CEO of 1 in 10. Like Barbara, I've prepared a little ditty that I'm going to perform first. Despite the lighting, Barbara. I met Don nearly 22 years ago. I was 26 and had just moved back to Phoenix from a job assignment in Dallas. At that point in my life, I was still finding my way. I had only come out a few years earlier, and I was really just in the beginning of discovering the world of LGBTQ advocacy, community involvement, and what it meant to live openly and authentically. And then I met Don. Don also offered plenty of jokes and what I'll generously call feedback. Those of us who knew him will remember the way he would deliver a comment and then wait just long enough to make you wonder whether he was being completely serious. And then came that signature smile, the wink, and of course, the tongue sticking out at you. That was Don. He had a really long tongue. And he'd always, he could challenge you, encourage you, and make you laugh, sometimes all within the same sentence. At a time when I was still trying to understand where I belonged and how I could contribute, Don made the world of advocacy feel a little less intimidating. When we think about Don, one of the things that immediately comes to mind is his love of travel, as so many have said today. For some people, travel is simply about getting away, but for Don, it seemed to be more about moving toward something, toward discovery, toward connection, toward a deeper understanding of the world. Travel has a way of reminding us that the world is so much bigger than our own routines. It teaches us that there is not just one way to live, one way to think, or one way to see the world. They are the memories that we carry, the friendships we make, the stories that we tell. Each of us carries a different story about Don, a conversation, a trip, a joke, a piece of advice, a moment when he made us laugh and feel seen, made us think, or reminded us not to take ourselves quite so seriously. Those individual memories now become part of a larger story of his life. And it is through these stories that Don continues to travel with us. And we remember him today. Perhaps the best way to honor him is to keep exploring, to book the trip we've been putting off, to take the unfamiliar road, to begin a conversation with someone we might otherwise never meet. So Don, thank you for reminding us that life is meant to be explored and that the people we meet along the way are often the most important part of the journey. May we all continue toward and forward with a little more curiosity, a little more courage, and a little more wonder because of you. And somewhere, I imagine Don is watching us now, waiting just long enough to make us feel a little uncomfortable before giving us that familiar wink, that wonderful smile, and yes, sticking his tongue out one more time. We will miss you, Don, and we will carry you with us whenever the journey takes us next. Thank you.
Please welcome back to the stage John Phoebus.
I'd like to welcome to the stage my dear friends Vern Johnson and Dwayne Manty. I met them, and like I said, through Don. And Vern and Dwayne have been instrumental players in the community for decades, contributing. They're currently, Vern is the CEO of Axiom Care, and that was Dwayne's baby, his vision. The two of them have built a tremendous community organization that helps provide services to folks transitioning from prison and dealing with substance abuse. And it's exactly the sort of pay it forward project that your uncle was always involved in. So he loved these two like brothers. Guys, would you please come to the stage?
Hi. First of all, I would just like to pay my respects to John's family. I know how much he loved you all, and I know how much he would talk about looking forward to holidays and different events in Texas. We got a little jealous sometimes because it would be Christmas, and he would always be at our house at Christmas, so we worked through it, though, over the years. Well, when people think of Don Hamill, they smile before they even say his name. People joke that he was the head of the gay mafia. It was funny, but it was really true. He knew everybody and knew who needed to know each other.
He founded the Rainbows Festival here in Phoenix. In those early years, you could always find Don racing around in his golf cart, not seeking the spotlight, but making sure the stage existed for everyone else.
He believed in building things that lasted. When we were help opening 1 in 10's thrift store in a building we owned, we found Don spraying the ceiling black and somehow wearing nearly as much paint as the ceiling.
That was Don. If something needed doing, he would do it. He brought that same dedication to Vivre as a founding board member, sitting through years of meetings and retreats and helping to shape the mission which became the foundation of Axiom Care. Much of the work we do today still rests on those conversations.
And then there were stories. Our dear friend Greg Polzing, who we also miss very much, loved telling this one. Don was out of the country, and there was a flood in their place in Laguna Beach. He called Greg with one instruction: go look under the carpet. Greg was wondering, what's going on? So he opened his bedroom door, and there were thousands and thousands of dollars floating around in the bedroom that Don had hidden under the carpet. That was so completely Don.
And then there was Guadalajara. Don chose the restaurant, and out came a chicken leg with feathers on it. When I asked for a Pepsi, I received a warm glass of what may have been goat's milk. After that, we lovingly retired Don from restaurant selection duty.
Right, you too. Yes, those were the stories we will laugh about forever, because that's how love works. Through the quirks, the determination, and the moments that made us shake our heads and smile.
What I will miss most is this. Even now, when Vern and I make business decisions, we find ourselves asking, what would Don do? How would he think, and how would he approach this? His judgments and instinct are still with us today.
Don didn't just build organizations, he built people, he built friendships, and he built a stronger community. Because of that, his work continues to go on long after he's gone. Thank you, Don. We love you.
I love you, Don.
We will miss you, and we'll keep asking, what would Don have done? Thank you.
It is my pleasure to welcome to the stage Kirk Baxter, founder of Body Positive, now Prisma Community Health.
Hello all, Tepper family. So, one thing I want to say is just in the last month, we've had the absolute joy of getting to know Gay Tepper. And it was under tough circumstances, but it helped crystallize for us so much of what we heard about your family. We all could talk about different things he told us along the way, and there never was a time when he returned to Phoenix that wasn't part of a dinner conversation. So as we all know, Don, I can relate, was known to be a talker, And so one of his true treasures really in life for all of us was that he could carry on a conversation with anybody. You could be at dinner and he'd turn to another table, and if there was something that would open that conversation, like they had a child, he'd start talking about that and how great it must be. And sometimes it was almost awkward because I wondered, what the response was going to be. But never once did I see a time that he didn't pull somebody into that conversation. And one of the things he actually taught me just through our interactions was the ability to get excited about and actually carry on a conversation with a topic that I may know nothing about or not even be interested in. And when you're somebody that's public and part of your role is to build relationships, that's an important skill set. So one of the things that you heard about the different community events he was part of, but what most people don't know is that he was such an idea guy. So we had an AIDS Walk in Phoenix that started in the 80s, and sadly the organization that presented it went out of business, and there was a 5-year gap of not having an AIDS Walk here. And, it's tough to bring in a walk back or any event, but we did it. And we did it because Don initiated that conversation. I walked into it because one of our champions in this room, Debbie Rubenstrunk, who then was working with Phoenix Body Positive, Don approached her at an event, and it was the first time anybody said, it's just time. Our agencies need that walk. We've got to start raising money again. In that same afternoon, he drafted me, and I was thrilled to be able to do it. Many of us, including Bill, worked on the first walk when it launched in the 80s. And so all that said, it came full circle, and it was something that this community desperately needed. So concepts, he was the ultimate concept guy. And one of the things that many of us, me included, would joke with him about is that he was gone a lot, as we all know, maybe 8 or 9 months out of the year. But he'd come back here, and we'd say to him, you know what, you're really great at planting these seeds. And he would plant a seed of a beautiful concept, and I said, but then you'd hit the road, you fly out of town, But his legacy continued on because he taught many of us exactly how to implement the steps that were required to make those things happen. So one of the things that might not come up is that otherwise is that in addition to his leadership in the LGBTQ community, he broadened the respect that we had with the rest of what is the population of this city, Metro Phoenix, and beyond. So a perfect example was the fact that in many years back, our city council member, then the first openly gay representative that we had at city council was Tom Simplot. And each council member was put in the position to pick one, and only one business leader from their district to actually serve on a sustainability and efficiency task force. Very, very important because they wanted citizen input into how to make that happen, and most importantly, from business leaders who knew how to make things happen. And that was actually one of his first forays into being such a fixture down at City Hall. I'm quite confident that our next speaker will have other things to say about that, so I'll spare you that right now. But his ultimately, the way he brought people together, my job was to talk about his lasting legacy. So there isn't one of Don's brainchild events that hasn't continued on in some form today. That's part of his legacy. But beyond that, it was all about people, and it was all about bringing people together. The best example I know is that we're now the 5th largest city in the country. And as event organizers, it's tough sometimes to plan a date that doesn't conflict with another charity or other big sports or other event. So one year, we found that AIDS Walk was going to fall on the same weekend as Rainbows Festival. So did Don say, oh, no, that's my date? He did not, and he led the charge, honestly, to say this is a win-win opportunity. This is cross-marketing, and this is a way that everybody not only has a better day, but enjoys it. And I can tell you, as somebody who was actually co-chairing that walk, that for us, it was one of the best years ever because we had all that vitality and Don successfully getting people on light rail. And light rail, when you'd get on light rail during those periods of time, was filled with our people. It was filled with AIDS Walk t-shirts. It was filled with Pride t-shirts. Just one more way that we could be proud and once again be counted for going from our first year of Pride actually marched down to the Capitol in 1981 when our theme was, "We are here," as if we had to prove it. And then we had to fight along the way for our own achievements and to get direct representation. That sort of thing doesn't happen unless you build a community with economic strength. At people like Don and our Equality Chamber helped grow that credibility in a community where we had corporate sponsors and we had other entities realize that we are in our own right a force to be reckoned with. And yes, we've got a pretty high number in terms of buying power as an LGBTQ plus community. So he took his business acumen from everything that you can read in the program and he applied that to the advancements that we all needed in the quest for full LGBTQ civil rights. And another good example was with Vern and Dwayne, two of his closest friends. And the reason we separated them out from the other three organizations to come up immediately after was that is a good example of something that Don played a part with, and also launching with them the 3 Snaps retail store. It was actually a resale and consignment store to raise money for our community organizations. But part of that legacy was that we now have a perfect example of how our work ripples out. And it's not just the gay community that is served by these two gentlemen with Axiom Care. It includes the LGBT community, but it's such a broader segment of all of what is the fabric of what makes up metropolitan Phoenix and beyond in Arizona. So it was about bringing people together and building lasting relationships. And for me, I think one of my favorite periods of time of working on an event was the last 3 years of Rainbows Festival. And so there were parts, I was watching Livestream all the way here. Everybody's been great, by the way. And so I was able to pick and choose maybe things that I could add to. And one of those was that in addition to Don having the life that he did and being successful at everything he did, he was known for being frugal. But it was frugal in a way that allowed many, many things to happen, not the least of which was it gave him the buying power, if you will, to pick up and fly to anywhere in the world he wanted to go. But he also helped with people like me who are just the opposite, a little bit too liberal with funds and budgets and all that kind of stuff, but helped us reel in that business sense of what it means to really guarantee our own stability. So, but at Rainbows Festival, it was the third to the last year that he was actually producing it himself with Nancy Nunez on entertainment. And so I missed being in the middle of things. I'd stepped away just for my own family and personal health reasons and wanted to jump back in. And I didn't just want to be part of the event. I wanted to work with your brother, your uncle, your brother-in-law, because he was fun to be with, and every time I was with him, I learned something. And so, but what was interesting is that year, he said, you know, you spend an awful lot of time down here on these weekends. He said, you might as well get paid for it. And when he said that, I thought, wow, I mean, I've arrived, you know, and so it felt good. It wasn't necessary because I would have been there with him one way or not. And so I can tell you that his legacy really is not just the organizations that have come together and worked together, it's the fact that all of us have built these lasting relationships that have strengthened the fabric of our community in a way that helps us be taken far more seriously with the rest of what is this public that we interact with and are so very much part of, and will indeed continue on with our quest to be equal in every way. And Don Hamill, for us, contributed so significantly to that, he will never be forgotten. Very much part of his legacy. And so, to better encapsulate that bigger picture piece of Don, I have the honor of introducing our next speaker, our final speaker. And, I have to say that for 26 years, Greg Stanton has represented the LGBTQ plus community and served Arizona. I have to add a couple things, because just so you have a little bit of the progression, he was first a city council member, and from the moment he arrived in that position at City of Phoenix, we were there with him because he invited us in. Next, he was Deputy Attorney General for the state of Arizona, and issues that we cared about, and we, by the way, are not single-issue people. We care about everybody. We care about equality for everybody, and fairness and justice, and that so much is quite specifically why Don and the rest of us were so excited about having our leadership come our way in the form of Greg Stanton. So when we first heard that he was running for mayor, I can tell you that universally there was a big happy dance going on. And it wasn't just our community, but we perhaps were dancing the hardest. And so from there, I have to say the one contribution that stands out to me is we had one meeting with Mayor Stanton, and in that meeting we had one mission. We had many meetings, but in this particular meeting, what we went in for was to talk about something that was global, that this city could be part of. And in Paris, at an international conference, there was an initiative launched called the Fast Track Cities Initiative. And the goal was to, around the world, bring cities together on goals and objectives that were unified that could help stop the spread of HIV globally. And in one meeting with Greg, my job really generally in our dividing of responsibility was more the political end. I happen to have a great relationship there and know the elected officials that just simply get us and are going to do everything they can to not let us down. And that was Greg. And I'm proud to say that at that juncture, that launch of that initiative, Phoenix, then maybe not the 5th largest city in the country by then, but very, very close. But we became the 7th or 8th, I'm trying to remember that, but probably 8th, 7th, probably 7th actually, city in the United States to sign on to that initiative. It took help from other council members, and we all had to testify at a city council hearing to get it funded. We had a little bit of opposition, but the leaders that were there for us saw us through, and we got that done. So when Greg then had the opportunity to run and run successfully for Congress, that happy dance was times about 100. And so in addition to what he's done for us, you've seen clips, you've seen him on TV, you see what he's done for us, and it was so important to him to make time in his schedule to be here today to honor Don with another piece that's going to follow. He made it happen, and he has, in my opinion, the best congressional staff in the country, because anytime something's tough to get done, we talk to people that work things out for Greg so that he can ultimately make that decision, and collectively as a team, they get things done. So it's more than an honor at this juncture to bring up Congressman Greg Stanton, one of our greatest friends ever.
Thank you, Kirk. Hard to follow a legend like that. He's one of the greatest of all times. To Gay and Mark and the family, my deepest sympathies to you. Don Hamill was one of our best citizens of the city of Phoenix. He left a lasting legacy. You've heard all about it already today. I'll just start with something simple. There are certain people just kind of show up at events. We all know them. And then there are people who build the events, run it for a decade, hand it off to someone who can carry it even further, and then go looking for the next thing that needs to get done in our community. That was Don Hamill. We've heard about how he was the driving force before the creation of the Rainbows Festival and Street Fair. It grew into one of the largest Pride events in the entire Southwest, second only locally to the Phoenix Pride Festival. He produced that wonderful event for 10 years. And then in 2012, transferred it to Phoenix Pride and joined their board. Think about that. He built something that had his fingerprints all over it, and when the moment came, he had a strategic plan to ensure that its success would outlast him. That's not ego, that's community stewardship. And Don also refused to let our community forget about the AIDS crisis. He started the very conversation that brought AIDS Walk back, as Kirk talked about, in our community. We needed that event back. It was important to bring it back. He made that happen in 2008. He served as an important advisor to Aunt Rita's Foundation for so many years, funding HIV services through 11 partner agencies. He was one of the driving forces behind the Red Brunch, the World's AIDS Day celebration that ran for a full decade. And of course, he did serve on the original board of what became Axiom Care, providing thousands of our fellow Arizonans every year with addiction recovery care. And he did the quiet work too. As has been mentioned by so many, he didn't have to be out front, but he did the heavy lifting. He served on the Phoenix Efficiency and Sustainability Advisory Board. Nobody throws a party for serving on that board, but Don did it anyway because he believed a city works better when good people are willing to sit in the room where decisions are being made. Now, I had the privilege of seeing that side of him up close. When I was elected mayor of Phoenix, I asked Don to serve on my transition team, a role that he enthusiastically played. It was not a ribbon cutting. It wasn't a proclamation. He wanted to ensure the fiscal health of the city of Phoenix. He was a very successful businessman, and he knew how to balance the numbers. And he wanted to make sure that when I was mayor, that the city was well run, both in terms of helping people, but also helping the fiscal strength of the city. He pushed me hard on pension reform at the city of Phoenix, and he pushed pretty hard. And as a result, he was right. We made significant positive changes to our city pension, improving the fiscal outlook of the city. Don's fingerprints were all over it because he understood something. A city that can't pay its bills cannot take care of its people or fully support the arts, which he wanted us to do. When money runs tight, programs that serve our most vulnerable are too often the first thing on the chopping block. That's why it was important that he do that heavy lifting and that advocacy. Don knew that. So he fought for the unglamorous, difficult work of getting Phoenix financing right. That was his great advocacy as well, on top of everything else that's been talked about today. He didn't need anybody to call it that. And I want to say one more thing about Don outside of all this. He was a world traveler, an adventurous soul. We've heard so much about it. Passionate, generous. He was the kind of person that made you feel like you had known him longer than you actually had. That advocacy came from somewhere. It came from a person who really liked people, and he could not stand to see people treated anything but the way that they deserved to be treated, with dignity and with respect. He was hopeful for the future of the LGBTQ plus young people in our city. He said so out loud in rooms where that was not always the easy thing to say. That hope was not naive. He had earned the right to be hopeful. He had watched this community survive things that were designed to break it. So here's what I keep coming back to the most. Most of us hope to be remembered. Don did something harder than that. He built things that will keep working without him. The festival is going to happen for decades to come. The walk is going to happen and be more successful than ever. The services that he believed in, they're going to get funded. The care still gets delivered. Every one of those things is Don Hamill. He did the work to make that happen in this city that he loved, and we loved him right back. Every one of those is Don, still doing the work. And I just want to make one other point, and that is this. Don was part of a generation of leaders in this city that were at the right place at the right time as we were growing into being the 5th largest city. A group of legends. A few of them are sitting right in the front row, right in front of me. This city is such a better place because of your work along with Don's. Not just the LGBTQ plus community, passionate advocacy for the arts, passionate advocacy for healthcare that extends beyond our gay and lesbian community. You know, the city has done incredibly well. We're now a population, one of the biggest. Our economy is growing at an incredible pace. We're a leader city. But it's not because of those buildings or because of economic development. It's because of the people that got taken care of. And I just want to acknowledge that you and Don and that generation of leadership built this city. And we're such a better place before. So to Don's family and to everyone here who loved this great man, thank you for sharing him with Arizona. We are such a better state because Don Hamill was in it. Now, it is my great honor, Sarah's with my office, with my team, that Kirk was so kind. I'd like to present to Gay and Mark and the entire family, please come forward, a certificate of commendation from the United States Congress to recognize the legendary work of Don Hamill.
Everyone, this concludes the program portion of our celebration. Please filter out into the lobby for a dessert reception provided by Dos Chris as we raise a glass to Don Hamill. 20 feet of sweets out there, y'all. Let's go have some.